Now, in all of my training, which was over 2 years of training, I'd imagined 2 moments in complete technicolor. One was obviously standing at the pole. I had stood there for 100 hours before, and the other was just standing at the start to the polar race. I'd seen this moment, I'd lived it. It actually felt like a memory before I even stood up to it. But in my imagination, I had thought, this moment when I step up to the start line of the polar race 2011 will be extreme in emotion of some sort. I'll either be extremely terrified or I'll be extremely excited, one or the other. But when I actually stepped up to the start line of the polar race 2011, I was completely calm, spookily calm. It was a moment where you realize you've either done enough or you haven't. You've either trained hard enough or you haven't. You've either got what it takes or you don't. And so the only question that you can ask yourself when you step up to the start line is, do I trust myself? Have you ever had to ask yourself a question that question in a moment that really counts? I asked myself that question, and had the answer been no, I would have stepped back from the start line. But the answer was, yes, I do. Powerful moment. And with that, we set out in pursuit of the magnetic North Pole to cross the Arctic Ocean. This is a day in the life of a polar racer. At the time of the start of the race, I weighed 90 kilograms and my sled weighed 95 kilograms. So it was like dragging a dead body behind you the entire way. We had 7 layers of thermal clothing, and the top layer had a hood which was lined in Arctic fox fur. Slowly but surely, we journeyed northwards together. We stayed in a tiny little tent all together. There's nothing special about this tent. It's a lightweight racing tent. And when I first sort of thought, okay, we're going to stay in this tent together, there's 3 of us, I thought, okay, this isn't too bad. I get to spend the best part of a month sharing a tent with 2 not too bad looking guys. And nobody can ask any questions. What I hadn't factored in, though, is when you are wearing the same clothes every day, eventually those 2 guys start to stink, and the tent also starts to stink. So it's certainly no area for a blossoming romance between us. The good news, though, is that you smell as bad as the guys, and most of the time you can only smell yourself. So it's something that you can deal with. But the thing that most amazes me about these pictures is that every single night we slept in this tiny little tent, which was pitched on a 6-foot thick piece of ice, floating on a 4.5-kilometer deep ocean. Makes you feel small.